Simpsons. Arigato, arigato, arigato. Tokyo saying I love the Denicate. Thank you, brothers. But so there's SQL, there's Python, there's Java, and if you learn Java, basically you can learn it all real quick.
But you're going to learn the basics of SQL querying in just 15 minutes.
The basics.
More sophisticated. Can't they write the SQL queries for me? The answer to that is yes and no.
I wonder about with ChatGPT and all the AI stuff that's coming in. It's gonna be crazy with coding. I wonder ChatGPT could possibly even be better coders than coding. So I mean, I wonder about how many coders are needed. Weren't there a lot of coders laid off? The tech world, are they finding new gigs? What's going on there? But all the same, I'm finding that you could use these in a lot of the day-to-day jobs, not just like those technical those jobs out in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, right? You could use this in some of your it just literally maybe tack this onto your resume, maybe add in a couple other things that you've done well, or that they've had to rely on you. And the one thing I've been thinking about in resumes is it's who's reading these resumes. I've been reading these resumes because I have to read resumes as part of my job. And it's how do you separate people? How do you figure out people? How do you learn who people are from these pieces of paper? Well, it's so hard, right? So in trying to get new jobs, I've been experimenting with various forms of resumes and trying to get it so that, you know, so a person can read that, get an idea of who I am, and, you know, bring me on for a lot more money and me to improve the organization, help them us grow together and improve. I don't know, that's the plan. Listen, as long as you got skills in the world and the oldest profession, no robot will ever put you out of work. That's the thing, right? Robots, they're coming for a lot of things, but they still need people to click the buttons, type the buttons, code.
Yes, when it comes to requesting data for different charts, graphs, and tables that you might want to present in dashboards. In these cases, I already know what I want to learn. Make more money, potentially. I mean, just add a little skill to the old resume, right?
Compiled from the FIFA video game.
I thought this was interesting because he uses the FIFA video game too.
Today, we're working with a SQLite database that I found online, containing data compiled from the FIFA video game by EA Sports. So, soccer stats. I'll leave a link to the database in the description if you want to play around. If you want to play around with it too. In terms of the tool I'm using to query the database, it's called NaviCat. It's the premium version that allows you to connect to and query pretty much. What you want to do is write SQL queries and ask the database to return specific data from this table.
And therefore show that you have some sort of mastery over the coding and the understanding of coding. Just some basics, right?
A new query window.
And the funny thing is, I mean, I've coded, I've had to use Amazon. They have a backdoor coding website that you could use, and you could send various types of apps and things to it. And I've done some hardcore stuff on the back end for some various little secret projects that I don't want to, you know, necessarily talk about because, but all the same, I realized that in doing so, I have coding experience and putting together like these things, because I had to learn how to do it in order to make these things happen, to basically send APIs, to send a order from one site to somewhere else to make something happen, come back with an end result. And
now
that's coding. And then I realized, oh shit, I've done that. Like, so I mean, little simple thing you could do online in the background, couple nights a week, bam, make extra 20K. I don't know, something seems like a decent idea.
When we're asking for data, we're using,
rather than going to master's school and getting your teaching certificate or going that route. I mean, lots of ways to make a buck in this world, right? But
what's called
but they're ever changing, and I keep interrupting this bastard. Sorry.
Select statement. So that's what we need to write first.
All right, what the fuck did he say?
When we're asking for data, we're using what's called a select statement. So that's what we need to write first. And if we want to return the whole table in the result, we do so with a star. Then we specify the table that we want to select everything from. In this case, the table called player. select star from player. Then we run the query.
We'll
and the
check
database returns all data from that table. You may notice that I've written everything in lowercase because the SQL isn't case sensitive.
Doesn't matter.
However, I have the option to what's called beautify the SQL.
Makes it easier to read.
You'll notice that select and from have been capitalized. Although it's not obligatory, this does actually make your queries easier to read. It's not so important with such a small query like this one, but when you've got one...
Didn't the Microsoft AI admit it was spying on workers' webcams and became obsessed with one of them? They had to shut off the AI. I thought the Microsoft AI there, it was getting too smart. They had to like go into Skynet with the axe, Homer Simpson, straight out of the Treehouse of Horror films.
With tens, if not hundreds of lines of code, it really does make life easier. So we've selected all fields.
And the other thing is, if you've used Excel, if you use Microsoft Access, even Microsoft Word, I guess to some degree, because this is available on there. Like there's functions and codes and stuff like that. You're probably familiar with this, vaguely familiar with coding. And that's what it is.
Or columns and all rows from the table.
Simple maths, as they would say in England.
If we only want to select specific fields. Simple. Instead of the star, we just...
Don't worry, guys. It starts like this. It's going to get hotter. Woo! I got some fun stuff. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that's right. Ooh, boom. Let's get back to it, though. Boom, boom, boom. Just some hints. Sorry.
Write out the field names we want, separated by commas, like this. Player...
Right now, we're learning how to make money. This is the work part. To get to the play part, right? Open up the free time, open up the pocketbooks, increase the watch collection,
birthday. I run this and
buy a couple gifts for the wife.
When we select specific fields, we can also rename them by creating aliases. To do this, we use the as function.
Yeah, I don't really care about that.
Let's go back to all data.
So they changed it to like, oh look, it's his full name. Okay, cool.
Look now at how we can ask the database to only return specific rows in the result.
Yes, we want to find out such an information.
A where clause with different operators.
This is the critical part. Literally, you're gonna make bucks right here. This is where all the money's made.
So we use the equals
operator. Where weight 190. So it's gonna find anybody who's equals 190.
Select any player with a weight greater.
But if you want to get greater than, you got to add that to the code.
Than 190 pounds or greater than.
Bam! Now you got it, right?
To 190. You see, it's not that complicated. And we've gone from over 11,000 records to just under 1,000 being returned.
He's going to look up Leo Messi and Ronaldo here too. As part of an example.
Also specify more than one condition by using either and or. So weight greater than 190 and height greater than 190.
And of course they use height, I guess, in like inches or some shit like that. I don't know. It's not stones. So that's English for weight.
Both conditions must be met.
Look at this coding. So select from the table, from player, and then checks all these for these, checks for 190 weight, checks for height 190, above.
I change it to or.
Runs the code, and now you've just put about 5 extra G's in your pocket just from what you learned right there.
It means that either condition must be met in order for the row to be returned. So that's selecting rows based on the value in integer fields. What about when it comes to text values? Well, we can also use the equals.
Give this guy a like, by the way, Adam Feiner -learn BI online.
Operator to find any row where the text matches exactly with what we specify. Player name equals, in single quotes, Aaron Galindo. But we could also use the like operator, which achieves the same goal.
So we could find one person in out of many, needle in the haystack. But what if they have a error in their name? What if someone accidentally spelled their name with an E there?
We want to select just rows from all players called Aaron. So basically the player name field starts with Aaron. Here we can use a % character after the text to look for, like so. And we get all Aarons returned. If we wanted to find any player name that ends with Aaron, we put the percent character before. Nothing that ends with Aaron.
So no Hank Aaron.
We could put a percent before
in soccer
and after, which would basically mean any player name that contains Aaron. And we've got Rolando Aarons. Finally,
there we go.
Here's an example.
So you add the wild card, and we found Aarons. And if you actually change those wild card spaces, you could change where what it covers. Basically, you could make it where the O is, and that way, if there's an error where that O is, you'll get everybody with an A, and you'll probably come up with that Aarons.
Which puts the percent in the middle of text. So here we'll return all rows where the player name starts with A and ends with N. You can go even further with the like operator by using underscore to represent single characters. An example would be like T_M%. So the underscore is asking for any rows where the player name starts with T, then any character between the T and the M, followed by anything. And run. We've got Tamas, Tamir, Tim, Timmy, etc. There are also things called wildcards that allow you to go even further when specifying the rows you want to return, but we won't go into those for this video. We will, however, finish looking at the where clause by talking about a couple more operators that you can use. For text fields, we have in, which allows us to specify multiple or statements more simply. However, it can only be used for exact matches, so we can't use percents or underscores with it. So let's look for Ronaldo and Messi. Open brackets,
why not?
Cristiano Ronaldo, comma, Lionel Messi.
Boom.
For integers, we can use the between operator. So I could say where weight between 180 and 190. Finally,
interesting.
We have the is null and is not null, null being empty. In this table, we don't have any null values. But if I open up the match table, we can see that there are lots in there. So select star from match, where home player 1 is null.
What will this help us do?
Or is not null. There we go.
Oh, wow, there are people. Interesting.
Let's go back to our player table. And
all right, so I think that's enough of the coding. We've learned basic SQL in about 10 or 15 minutes. Wow, I mean, take that to the bank, right? All right, guys, let's move on to watches and research. I've been getting into watches lately. I've been hearing from my buddies that they've been getting into watches too. And how to build the perfect watch collection, right? Like, you know, it starts with like the budget. First off, you got to find out what fits in the budget. When, you know,